You're watching News 24 Live. Kerry Jones is a South African linguist and the co-author of the first children's dictionary in a San language. Kerry works on documenting and preserving endangered languages and is one of just 2 South Africans who consider themselves specialists in Khoesan languages. Kerry joins us in studio today to shed some more light on this uniquely Southern African group of languages. Kerry, thank you very much for coming in on this very interesting topic, I'm sure, for a lot of people. But like I said, there are very few specialists in this field. Why is that?
I think, unfortunately, it's just a very tricky field to get into. In the South African academia especially, there are no places for us to receive any training. So any training that you might get or experience with Khoi or San languages in Southern Africa will be hands-on experience. So unfortunately, that's the situation here. Alternatively, in Germany and the Netherlands, you can receive training and you can take courses on Khoi and San languages. So there we get a lot of specialists coming from abroad versus locally, and that's just due to a lack of training.
Okay. So tell us a bit about your background. I mean, what inspired you to delve into this sort of line of work?
I'll give you the abridged version.
Okay.
I grew up in the Midlands, and growing up in that area I saw a lot of rock art in the caves, and I was always under the impression that these people were gone and that they were part of our history but not people that we could engage with anymore. When I grew older, I realized that this wasn't the case. I then studied in Australia and gained my master's in language documentation and preservation, and wanted to bring those skills back to South Africa, and realized that there weren't many people that were doing this. In fact, most of them were foreign. And so for me to get into it myself, I then had to get in my little car and start driving, and that included covering South Africa, Namibia, Botswana, through to the Caprivi Strip and the Angola border. So it's a lot of hands-on work and a lot of digging and delving for yourself, but that's how I started.
Now, you were saying earlier there's a lot of sort of misconceptions around Khoesan. I mean, first of all, it's not one language, there's several languages. What are some of the other misconceptions that people make?
Absolutely. So that's the biggest one, really, is that people consider the word Khoesan to be the name of a language. It's not. It's the name of a group of languages. So just as you would say, South Africa has Bantu languages, which are Zulu, Xhosa, Sepedi, Tswana, and so on. So we have Khoesan languages, which is the name of a language family. Other misconceptions are that Khoi and San speakers are a unified, homogeneous group. This is also not true. That they only live in the desert, again, not true. That they're only found in South Africa and maybe Namibia. They're spread as far as Angola, Zambia, and even Tanzania. So they're really in southern Africa and not just in the desert regions or in the Karoo.
Okay. So now, what group of languages do you specifically work with? And can you give us the correct pronunciation of them?
Okay, so I primarily work with San languages versus Khoi languages, although I have experience working with a particular Khoi language, which is the most popular and is used as a lingua franca in the desert, so it's very useful for me. So that language is called Khoi Khoi Kovap. Other speakers who are not familiar will otherwise call it Nama or Nama Damara, and so that's the most common. But of the San languages, the dictionary, for example, that I co-authored, that language is called Xhosa, and that's primarily spoken in Namibia and Botswana. Okay. So I work with that. I also work with Kung speakers who spread as far as Angola. I work with Khwedam speakers who are mostly from Zambia and the Caprivi Strip area. And then finally, the work that I'm currently working on is with Ngu, of which there are only 5 speakers left in the Kgalagadi and Uppington area.
Okay. So in South Africa, what is the predominant Khoesan language then?
In terms of numbers of speakers?
In terms of the numbers of people, yeah.
Okay, so our largest San group in number is Kung. And Kung in South Africa, we've got about 5,000 to 6,000 speakers, but across Southern Africa, about 12,000 to 15,000 speakers.